Well, hello world. How are you? It's your me. No, wait. It's me, your host, Choba. Sorry, I can't. I never know what to do for. Look, cold opens. No, just any opening is not my thing. And if it sounds like I'm whispering, it's because I am. I am whispering. Every time I record, it's like deep at night, so I don't want to talk too loud. But yeah, I'm whispering. It's real sensual, really intimate. Today's going to be one of those intimate episodes. Is this ASMR or is this a podcast episode? Oh my god, we'll never know. But whatever. So here's the thing, right? There's this moment at the end of a long day where your brain feels like it's still buzzing. It happens to me a lot. I mean, it happens to me a lot more recently. Like your body is begging for rest. Your mind is trying to shut off, and it really just won't. I know you know that feeling. It's like carrying the weight of notifications, responsibilities, whatever emotional noise life threw at you. And you just want, softness, gentleness. Um, you want to decompress, you know, something, you want to do something or you need something that's not going to ask you to perform or compete or be on. And that's what we're talking about today or tonight, whatever. Um, Cozy games. I love a good cozy game. You know, um, for me, like cozy games, they feel like a warm drink. And I'm not really familiar with warm drinks. I think like hot cocoa, but again, that's hot, not warm. But cozy games, they're fun little like think of your mom playing Candy Crush or playing this someone playing The Sims, like something like that where it's low stakes kind of thing. They're not essentially about winning. They're not always about grinding. I guess some games some cozy games could be about grinding. Let me tell you, I played this one game. It's called Coral Island. Yeah, it's not grindy at first, but then when you get into the thick of things, it gets super grindy. But it's also so cozy. I promise. I swear. But yeah, cozy games. They're really about breathing. Oh look, the first yawn. Mark that down. Mark that down. Um, yeah, they're about breathing. They're about stepping into a world that's intentionally slow, intentionally kind, and intentionally safe. Well, I guess not intentionally safe because one of the games I'm gonna talk about, and say it with me now, um, Skyrim is Skyrim and Oblivion, but I'm gonna talk about Skyrim today. Um, they're not essentially safe. They can be, but those are more about exploration. Because like there comes a point like any game that you like can be a cozy game. It's not essentially just your Sims or like your farm Sims or whatever. Anything that you like to play that helps you decompress from the world is a cozy game, you know? And that's what I want to talk about. Like those kinds of things, why they matter. Especially right now. Because, like, for people who, like myself, are going. I don't know if you guys heard that. I hope that you did it. Um, for people that go through, like, a lot in their day to day, whether it's being a parent or like trying to be creative or you have to work whatever amount of hours, you know what I mean? Like whether it's personal growth, that kind of stuff. Like cozy games are a great way to break out of it? Because in the beautiful mess of our minds, we can get lost in them, you know? And the games that we like to play, also known as cozy games, like they're there for us. I mean, because we purchased them or we have them. Look, I know a guy that has like 1,000 games in his backlog, and I know we're not talking about purchasing and how many games you have in your collection, but I think I'd be overwhelmed if I had 1,000 games in my backlog. I'm not like 200 and something, like almost 300. So I guess I shouldn't really be talking, but whatever. That's not the vibe for today. The vibe today is it's cozy games. And you're probably asking yourself, this guy keeps saying cozy games. What makes a game cozy? Well, here, I'll tell you. You ready? Cozy games aren't really a genre. They're a vibe, a feeling, something that you can, again, I said a little earlier, something that helps you decompress, you know? There's a couple things I like to think of when I call a game cozy, because you have your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, your Overwatch. Those are definitely, I mean, for some people, those are cozy because you can just like, if you're bad enough like me, you can just like log into that game and boom, it's gonna be a chill game because you're not that good. But those, oh look, a second yawn, mark that down. Um, for me, cozy games, there's a couple things about them. One thing I like about them, low stakes. You know, no timers, no punishment loops, no you failed, try again. Um, you know, just space in a game. You know, another thing is small grounding tasks. You know, like again, Coral Island, tend to a garden, decorate a room. You know, fishing at any point. Like even if you like, I don't know, got off of work at God knows like what 5 a.m. Um, and you go home, you're like, let's play Coral Island, and you load it up, and all you do is just fish. Like that is cozy, you know. Like it feels meditative, you know. And then you got your soft aesthetics. You know, some games they have warm colors, they have gentle music. You know, the environments within that world, you know, are a blanket for your brain to help you, you know, kind of like, you know, clock out in your head. And then one last thing that I love is the emotional safety. You know, a lot of games, or at least a lot of games I play, they're built on kindness, you know, community and connection, not essentially conflict. I mean, again, you can get into your Elder Scrolls, your Fallouts, like games like those, where like, if that's your thing, oh my god, that's the third one. Yo, chalk it up. We're cooked, Jap. Um, listen, like there's a lot of things about the cozy games or whatever, just games in general, you know. Um, but the real magic is that they meet you where you are, you know. Like they don't demand a lot of energy from you. Like you can just turn on, and even if you play like 10, 15 minutes, like it's gonna be there when you come back, you know. Like you get to just be yourself, and that's one thing when it comes to these games that I like to play because they're really just, you know, there's the exploration aspect, there's the world building aspect, like there's so many things about a game that can really help you because like again when we're living our day-to-day life where we're constantly working to pay bills, working to feed the family, working to, you know, just keep ourselves afloat, like there has to come a point where we can decompress on whether it's playing video games or, you know, going out into nature, whatever that's like. um there are things that exist to help us, you know, break down a little bit. You don't gotta cry about it though. I do. Sorry, that's lame. But look, there's a couple games I want to talk about, and I'll tell you, like they're amazing games. You might know a couple of them, but yeah, these are the games I like to play after a long, hard day, or when I'm just in the mood for it. There's the fourth one. Oh my god. Chat, clip that. But I've mentioned this game already a couple times, and I really do like playing this game. I'm happy that I came across it, and I really hope that the developers at some point realize that the PS5 version is a little too laggy with all the updates that they're doing, and I hope that they can put an update that optimizes the PlayStation functionality because now when I play it, I get a headache, so I haven't played in a while. But I do love, I do love Coral Island. This is a game where I was like, you know, scrolling through the game store. I don't know what it's called. Like the it's a store where you buy the games digitally. But I was scrolling through it. And I was looking for like my next find, and I saw Coral Island, and I'm like, what is this? And so I looked at like the little trailer ad, or I'm sorry, the little trailer video that they have in the store for it, and I'm watching it. I'm like, wow, this game looks absolutely phenomenal. And I saw the price, and I was like, wait a second, I can't afford this at this moment in time. But I did put it on my wish list. And then the darndest thing happened. I put it on my wish list, and then like a month or two later, it was put onto like the membership library. So like you get like a membership to like PlayStation Plus or what Xbox Game Pass. Game Pass, not past. That's in the past. Uh, we're talking about past with S. Sorry, I'm really trying to rally a joke out of this, and I just can't. But like those things were, as long as you have the membership, you can download games just to try or play or whatever the case. And Coral Island was put onto the library for PlayStation. As long as you're a member with a membership, you can play it. And I was like, wow, that is absolutely amazing. And so I downloaded it and I started it, and I was like, wow, this is absolutely everything that I would want in like a farming sim game. Because like I used to play, or I say used to, I had Harvest Moon like way back in the day on the Game Boy, right? If you know what that is. And I think I played it like once or twice, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." And then I just like got through the first day, and then that was it. But now, as an adult that understands mechanics and concepts in games, I could play farming sims and absolutely enjoy the shit out of them, and I love it. And so that's where, when we talk about Coral Island, right? There are a lot of things that you can do in Coral Island, right? And I love it. You're building a farm, raising animals, planting crops, etc. There's all these NPCs in the town that you get to meet and interact with. I'm a psychopath, so like usually when games have that kind of mechanic where like you could talk to people on like a daily basis, and when you talk to them, they make like a little, there's like a little reaction. Yeah, I'm a psychopath. I talk to everybody. Okay, I spent the first like three, no, scratch that. I spent the first year in game talking to every single person. Excuse me, talking to every single person NPC in that game. I spent the first year doing it. It was very time consuming. I think I got overwhelmed at one point because like I have to say hi to everybody, and I would like miss a couple people. I'm like, oh, what the. But then I learned, I was like, oh wait, I don't have to do that. I can just talk to people I want to talk to. But it's one of those things, right? Again, there's it's a farming sim, so you're doing your basic things, your ranching, farming, that kind of stuff, right? Now there's also an exploration aspect to it. You can go diving and go underwater. There's a cave, like there's a couple cave systems that you can go into to get like materials and stuff, and it's absolutely wonderful. And I think about it, right? It's a it's a farming sim, but the story, if you do follow the story, it's about rebuilding. You know, you get the farm, you rebuild the farm. It's looking a little worse for wear. We have the community, like there's community tasks that you can do because your town is a rank F, and you can raise it all the way. I don't know what the highest rank is, but you can raise the rank of your town so you can get more tourists again to come to your town, and you get more things. Um, And then, like again with the exploration part, there's coral reefs underground or underground, wow, underwater that you can kind of like go to and kind of heal. And everything about Coral Island is just it's warm and inviting. It's got really nice colors. The characters all have like their own personalities, which is really great. So it's not like they're like there's events that you can do when you get an NPC to like a certain level, and it's really great stuff. Very rewarding too, because like you can feel the ideas that the people that made the game that they put into their NPCs and their personalities and their traits and stuff, and it's so wonderful. Um, and it never feels overwhelming, and I do enjoy it. And it's just one of those games where, like, I'm happy I came across, I'm happy I saw it, because it creates a sense of belonging to me. And after a long day, we're like, and look, I'm gonna tell you right now, right? I have my moments in life where I'm like, everything kind of comes crashing down, and everything can feel overwhelming. And then I turn on Coral Island and I play for about like an hour or something, and I just turn on another podcast that's not mine, or I'll put on music, and I'll just sit there and I'll vibe, you know, tending to crops or tending to animals, that kind of stuff. And there's just something about that, like waking up in the game, watering your crops, feeding the animals, and knowing that the world waits for you. You don't feel rushed. There's tasks, and then there's rewards for those tasks, but there's no set timeline on those tasks. You can take however long you want on it, and it's just one of those things. I really adore that game, and I'm so happy that I have it. I can play it. Now another game, because I don't want to just spend my whole pot. Like, if I want to talk about Coral Island, I'll make a whole episode about Coral Island. Um, but that's not what we're doing. We're talking about games, as in multiple. And then another one I like to play a lot, and call me crazy, okay? It's Pokemon. Any kind of Pokemon game. Probably not the old Game Boy Color ones, but a couple of the, newer ones, I guess, going from Diamond and Pearl. Um, I don't know, again, you might think I'm crazy because when you think Pokemon, you don't really think cozy, right? But hear me out. In Pokemon, there's like a linear path, but in that linear path, you can do almost whatever you want, like if you're in that world, which, I mean, that's really what the games are supposed to do, right? They're trying to immerse you into that world. Well, here's the thing about Pokemon, right? Like, let's say Scarlet and Violet. Now, a lot of people liked that one when it came out, but now they're talking great about it. But it's an open world. Yeah, that's amazing. But also the tasks that they put into that open world, like they spread a bunch out throughout the map, right? And you can tackle them in any kind of way. And yes, there's storytelling aspects to it, but like once you get past like the storytelling and stuff, there's just something about you know walking around Paldea and seeing a Pokemon that you want to catch and just battling it or throwing a ball. What, you know what I mean? And it just I don't know. I guess like for me, it's the safe nostalgic feeling from when I used to play Pokemon as a kid. You know, but even in this newer game where you can set up the camp, play with the Pokemon, feed them, that kind of stuff, right? Like even battling feels not even like it's. I guess. Well, no, like the battling system in the games nowadays is like it doesn't even feel like it's all that challenging. Which I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Pokemon games are supposed to be challenging." No, they're supposed to be fun. All right, so you shut up. But I mean, that's the thing, right? Um, Pokemon. Here's one thing. When you think Pokemon, you obviously think of like Pikachu and stuff, but there's just I can't expand so much on Pokemon like I could Coral Island, and I'm sorry. I just don't want to nerd out completely. Trust me, you don't want that. You want a Pokemon episode? I got one for you. It's coming. It's better late than never. Trust me. But listen, Pokemon is tied to a lot of us, right? When it comes to like childhood memories. Think about your weekend. Like if you're like me, you didn't get to play any kind of game until the weekend, right? So like Saturday mornings, you're playing on the DS or whatever, and you're playing a Pokemon game, and you're just trying to figure out, all right, what's the next area to go to, or what kind of Pokemon am I gonna find? And there's just something really great about it, you know. It's a world that feels big but never scary, right? And imagine like companionship is the core mechanic, right? And that's honestly, it's really kind of cozy to me because You can immerse yourself. Sorry, there's so many pauses just there. Like breathing is hard for me when I talk. Um, but it's just one of the things, you know, again, you're going to hear it a lot. Exploration. Exploring a Pokemon region and being immersed in it. Like, if you have that, I don't know, creative mindset like myself or my kids, where you put on a game and you're like, oh my god, like, I'm this person and this is how I play it and blah, blah. There's just something really nice about it, you know? But that's enough about Pokemon. And I mean, it wasn't enough, but it's gonna have to be enough for now, because there's so many games. Well, not even that many games, but so many franchises I want to talk about. Right? Like another one, and this one's really gonna blow your mind when it comes. Like if you think, if we're talking cozy games right now, I'm gonna tell you this one. You're like, what the hell? Fire Emblem. Now, I didn't play Fire Emblem until like I think Awakening on the 3DS, and that was, I think, I asked for it as a kid. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. I knew nothing about it. But then I played it and I was like, this is phenomenal. But it's gonna sound really crazy, right? Because it's a strategy game, right? A strategy game about war and tactics. But I find it so cozy. And I think it has something to do because when you're not in battle and you're not in like the story mode or like following the story, like when you're just on the world map, like we'll use Awakening as the example, right? When you're on the world map, you get to interact with certain characters. Certain characters have support conversations. Now, the support conversations, if you have your characters battling next to each other, they can increase their bond. When they increase their bond to a certain point, they get these support conversations, and the support conversations are, I think, really cool because you're getting to see like these characters in a world that's like, again, it's about war, right? And things that are like catastrophic and stuff like that. But in those moments outside of that, you get these conversations and they're really nice and they're really creative. And I love them so much because like it slows down the pace of going from chapter to chapter and just fighting. Like in each chapter there's obviously story parts, then there's fighting parts, and there's more story parts. But then outside of that, you're managing your inventory. Of course, these support conversations I'm just talking about, like you can have, a meal with your character, like you feed them like so they can get buffs and stuff. And I think that it's to me, and I'm gonna say this word a lot. Like, let's get a cozy counter, right? Fire Emblem's cozy in that aspect of like, again, it's more immersion, where you're a general or whatever the case, right, or a tactician, and you're interacting with these people, and sure, your character isn't making their own dialogue choices, but you feel like the depth and the warmth of the conversations. Even when they're being silly, even when they're, upset with each other, like it feels human. And that kind of stuff right there is stuff that I love when it comes to tactical RPGs. Like those kind of mechanics where like your characters get to interact with each other. It's really cool. And I love it. And it really is cozy to me, right? And then think about like Fire Emblem Three Houses, a game that came out fairly recently. You know, you get to explore a whole monastery um, as a teacher, and you get to interact with your students and watch them kind of like have their, again, like their own personalities and stuff. And that's really cool because when you go out into like the story, you go onto a chapter, right? And go into a chapter, go fight a couple bad guys, come back, and then it's like, okay, we can breathe now, I don't like that kind of stuff because, hell, connection can be kind of a comfort. And whether you're connecting the blows of your sword to like your enemy, no, but like connecting again, I didn't mention this when I was talking about Coral Island. One thing I like about that game? Oh no, we're talking about fire. Hey, listen, I'm gonna jump right. I'm gonna jump around. You gotta bear with me, all right? That's the thing. Because once I get to when I get to start talking, I don't stop talking. Well, I do. I take my pauses, but still, like I'm working on that. Okay, give me a break. Wait, water check. Give me that. Let me get a little sip of this real quick. Hold on. Any of y'all? Damn, my bad. Any of y'all remember when I told my story about the Oblivion thing, right? Now, this is gonna make sense here in a second. When I think cozy games, right? And I swear there'll be a lost when I talk about. I mentioned Skyrim earlier, but Skyrim and Oblivion and Fallout and stuff, like those games to me, what makes them cozy is again the exploration. Now these games are beautiful, right? Especially like the remaster for Oblivion, Skyrim itself, even when it came out back in 2011, like it looked beautiful for being on Xbox 360 or a PS3. Like it's beautiful, and especially now, like I play on a PS5 and I have the I forget what edition I have, but it's like the one. It's really good, like the 10-year anniversary or whatever. I don't know, or special edition. Listen, man, I don't know. You don't ask me. I don't know right now. But that game is just so beautiful. Like I loaded it up the other day to play on the hardcore mode. I think it's called. And I just sitting through that opening scene, you know, going down the snowy mountains in a carriage, being taken prisoner. Like there's just something so cozy. That was another yawn. That's like five, I think. But there is something so cozy about it. And I love when you load into a game like that, or games like those, where you can just load in. You don't even have to follow the story. You don't have to do any quests. You could just walk around, take in the scenery, listen to the ambiance, and just breathe. And that's the thing, right? Because when you go to decompress, no matter what you're doing, you're looking for a moment where you can just breathe. And those open world RPG games are really good at doing that. Inviting you into that world and really just letting you take it all in. And I love. I mean, you can go and fight a dragon or go into town and fight a guard. I don't know. But outside of that, when you're just walking around, animals, creatures going past you, creatures coming up to you to attack you, you beating that creature and taking their stuff. Like it just sounds so cozy about that. But listen, this is why, to me, like why the cozy games matter right now, right? And look, if you agree with me, drop a like. No, I'm just kidding. But we're living in a time where everything feels loud. You know what I mean? Constant updates, constant comparisons, constant pressure to be productive, to be improving, to just be on. Trust me, I know that a lot. But cozy games, or just games, again, just in general, offer the opposite. Quiet, gentleness, a place where nothing bad happens, a world that doesn't need anything from you, and for me, again, like days when I'm feeling overwhelmed or even just like low on a mental state, like those games, they help me reconnect with myself. Whether I'm turning on Pokemon for 15 minutes to go level up one, or loading up Fire Emblem just to progress on the story, or going into the world of Tamriel and just walking around. Those games, they just remind me that rest doesn't have to be earned. Joy can be small. Like, comfort can be simple. That's the thing, right? Like, I can't say we, I'm not going to group myself in with you guys. But, like, a lot of people tend to think, and realistically, I am one. A lot of people think that you don't deserve a break if you aren't being productive, right? And honestly, I think that way a lot, and it was really a lot heavier like a few years ago. Whereas, like, if I was at home on my off day, not doing anything, oh, then I don't deserve to play my game, you know? And I don't know if that's just a thing from like childhood where if you grew up where like you weren't allowed to go outside or weren't allowed to play your game until all your chores are done, all your homework's done, you got good grades, no talking back, that kind of stuff. Like, if you weren't productive or doing your stuff, like all that stuff I just mentioned, then you weren't allowed to play your game or you weren't allowed to go see your friends or whatever the case. I don't know how y'all grew up. That's how I grew up. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's how it was, right? But I guess even now, like to this day, where I'm like, what, about to be, almost threw up. About to be 30. Oh god, I think I might throw up. Um, but yeah, about to be 30, and to this day, and I guess I hold it myself to that standard where it's like, if I'm not, if my sink in the kitchen has even like three dishes and I'm not doing it, then why the hell am I on my game? You know what I mean? Or like if the trash is piled up and I know that I can just take it out really quick, like, well, just go do that before you even think about having fun. Because maybe it's just the way I was raised or whatever, but like, I think that productivity equals reward, you know, and sometimes we have to remind ourselves that rest, you can rest and still, you know, reward yourself. Or like, there's a point to what I'm trying to say. I get lost in the sauce, dude. Trust. How about this, right? I have this line written right here. It says they're not escape. It's not escapism in the run away from your problem sense. It's escapism in the let me breathe so I can come back to myself sense, right? So that line alone right there, like, you're not. Maybe I should remind myself that just because I have three dishes in the sink or my bed's not made or whatever the case doesn't mean that I can't, allow myself to do something fun. I used to spend a lot of time. I'm not going to get too into details, right? I'll just make, I'll say the best way that I can, right? And again, I don't want to go too heavy into details. So you guys, if you don't know, right? I'm a single father to two absolutely amazing kids, right? And there came a point in the beginning of that separation, whereas if I didn't see them, like if a weekend came and I didn't see them, then I wasn't allowed to do anything else because I wasn't seeing them. So I didn't allow myself to go have fun. I didn't allow myself to play my game. I had to sit there in in my living space and just be miserable because I wasn't seeing my kids, right? You're probably asking yourself, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? I promise I'm getting to it. I'll hold on to this point, right? So then think about it, right? Let's say you take a day off from work, right? And as you're taking a day off from work for a personal reason, right? Let's say that you're not getting paid for that day, obviously, because you stayed home, and you go to turn on your favorite TV program or whatever, and as you're turning it on and you're watching it, and yeah, sure, you're enjoying it, but then you remind yourself, oh wait, I didn't go to work. I should not be doing this. I need to, since I didn't go to work, I need to catch up on something in my house, whether it's cleaning the floors, cleaning the bathroom, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? There are people like us that think if I'm not productive, I'm not allowed to have things. And I just want to say, excuse the pause. I just want to say that's not true. You're allowed. You're allowed to take a break from things. You don't have to earn your thing that you like enjoying. Okay, now like a concert, that's different. Okay, you can't be a bum and go to a concert. But what I'm saying is, like, just your normal everyday thing that you do around that. Like, if you like going to like your local lake and just walking around it, and you find that fun, you know, whether you're taking pictures or just walking, you deserve to do that, even if you weren't being productive. And that's the thing, right? And that's where the cozy games come back into play. They're a ritual for me. Like, if I'm having a really intense day or I'm feeling like I got overwhelmed, I'm turning on a game that I don't have to think because it's gonna help me. It's gonna help ground me, right? Um, it's just gonna help me, and that's the thing, right? I feel like we all should be playing cozy games, whether you know. Well, don't play Overwatch, okay? You can, but don't because it's not cozy because the community is toxic. But the game is really good, but the community makes it bad. But sorry, I ramble. But find your thing. You know, whether it's reading a book, playing a game, just find your thing that helps you decompress. Make it your routine. You know, again, like it's for me my ritual, right? And sometimes I'll be late. I'll have the lights. I'll have like my one lamp at my desk turned on. No one's online, but I got a drink. I got maybe like a snack or something, and I just turn on Coral Island or I don't know Psychonauts. Oh yeah, if you know what Psychonauts is, please leave a like. Um, but yeah, those games they help me, and I hope that when you're done listening to this, or as you're listening to this, you're playing a cozy game too. So yeah, decompress after creative work, reset my emotional rhythm, reconnect with my inner child, find joy in tiny gentle moment. I have all this stuff written down. Look, I've been making it an effort, a point of emphasis to have this stuff written down because sometimes when I do these things, I kind of just jump into them with no thought behind them. I don't want to do that anymore. But listen, and this is what I'll say before I end it here, right? Rest can be intentional, right? Slowing down is a form of care. I have to learn, or I've had to learn, that softness is strength. Oh God, excuse me, my nose already like bothering me. But listen, in a world that continues to tell us to toughen up, choosing softness is kind of rebellious, right? And I'll leave you with this. Like, if you're listening to this, right, and you're thinking, yeah, use a little softness, maybe this is your sign. Cozy games aren't just playing games. They're tiny sanctuaries. Again, it's a world to get immersed into. It's really nice. You know, it helps you breathe, helps you think, helps you reconnect. So, as you're listening to this, right, instead of doom scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, not saying that's bad, but instead of doing that or pushing yourself to be productive, give yourself permission to step into something gentle, something warm, something cozy. And if you already have a cozy game that you're probably going to play as you're listening to this or after you listen to this, I'd love to hear about it. What is it? Drop it in the comments. Tell me all about it. But with that, I bid you adieu. And until next time, that's all I got. You're not going to get anything else out of me.